Answered prayers. Have you ever wondered why God answers some prayers but doesn't seem to answer others? Perhaps you've struggled trying to understand when or how God will answer your prayers. Here's a true story that will help answer these questions and will help us discover some secrets to answered prayers. It was a cold spring night. I was 19 years old and dressed in my very best clothes to give a speech called The Christian Meaning of Success to a large middle-aged group at church. Although my speech wasn't funny and held no earth-shattering revelations, many people in the audience went out of their way to make me feel special by telling me I did a great job, to the point that I was secretly puffed up with pride. When the church meeting ended, it was dark outside and an unrelenting rainstorm pounded the church grounds. I ran through the rain to my dad's pickup truck, and I watched the wipers go back and forth while the windshield slowly defogged. Like those wipers, my mind raced back and forth, as I struggled between worshiping God or becoming filled with myself. It was like a tug of war, and it was so real, so powerful, and so overwhelming that I prayed out loud, "Dear God, help me to worship you only. I'm sorry for being filled with pride. Please humble me." This wrestling continued in my mind as I drove down Normandale Boulevard. It was like a fight going on in my head. God, me, God, me, God, me, as the rain continued to pound and the wipers flew back and forth with the same rhythm as my thoughts. The road was closed ahead due to construction, and I had to take a detour onto a winding, pothole-filled dirt road that made the truck feel like it was a dune buggy. Because the rain filled the potholes, the pickup lumbered ahead slowly as I struggled to avoid bottoming out in deep ditches. Meanwhile, just to my left and over a small hill that was no larger than a 3-foot-high mound of dirt was the newly paved road that had not yet been open for traffic. Because there were no other cars around, I decided to drive over the hill in order to drive on the paved road, even though I knew it was illegal to do so. I gunned the pickup through the mud and over the hill, but as the front tires crested the little hill, I could see the hill drop off to nothing and my truck slammed down onto the middle of the hill like a teeter-totter with all 4 wheels dangling in the air. Oh, my. I was in trouble. I got out and stepped onto the sloppy mud as the rain soaked through my clothes. My dad kept sandbags in the back of his truck, so I piled them all the way into the far back of the pickup bed. I put the truck in reverse and bounced up and down on the rear bumper as hard as I could to try to get the tires to grab the earth. But the pickup truck did not move an inch. Just then, God sent an angel disguised as a college kid, driving an old car, so I flagged him down, pulled out some ropes that we carried in the pickup, and I asked if he could pull me off the hill. My joy at getting help so quickly dashed as his car fishtailed back and forth while my truck did not even budge. And then, at least in my mind, the situation got worse when he said, "Well, why don't you just call the cops or get a tow truck?" I had no money for a tow truck, and because I was clearly and deliberately doing something illegal, I got scared and literally started to cry right in front of this guy. I think he must have thought I was a nutcase. Here I was, literally moments after Satan tried to entice me by my own alleged grandeur, sopping wet, covered with mud, stuck like Chuck in the middle of doing something illegal and crying in front of a stranger who was only a few years older than me. I think the only words I said at that point were, oh God," and I know for sure that I never cried out for me to save myself. And then, after just a few seconds of groveling, God sent another angel, this time camouflaged as a crabby old man in a 4-wheel drive truck who came inching up the pothole-filled road. Still in tears and covered with mud, I ran to the front of his truck, waving my arms to stop him. He angrily rolled down his window and screamed at me to get out of the way. but I didn't budge. Instead, I begged for his help. He turned his tires to drive around me, but I moved to continue to stand in front of his truck. And then I knelt down on the muddy, wet road and begged even more as I said, "Please, mister, please help me. I already have the ropes out and your truck can pull my truck off this hill. Please, it will only take a few seconds." Finally, after kneeling in front of his truck for what seemed like forever, begging while the college kid watched, the man agreed to help me as he muttered out loud, "Stupid kid. Stupid, stupid, dumb kid." Well, within seconds, he pulled my truck off the hill while I thanked both him and the college kid over and over again. And all the while, I praised God for his saving miracle as the tears continued to stream down my rain-soaked face. A mile later, I pulled my dad's pickup into the garage and turned on the lights, then crawled under the truck to inspect the damage. But there wasn't even a scratch. So here I am today, more than 40 years later, and tears still come to my eyes as I recall this story. Even amidst my struggle of God, me, I can see in retrospect how I wrongly chose me when I decided to make the illegal turn. Yet God, in his grace, answered my prayers so gently and so powerfully. God humbled me, but he did not hurt me. He took care of business and answered my prayers right away by showing me that I'm little, flawed, muddy, soaking wet, cold, and in desperate need of him. Yes, God is God and I am not. He answered my prayers because my heartfelt prayer was to do God's will. He knew I was struggling and asking him for the strength to do his will. He knew that my prayer was a plea to help me to make him first in my life. This is the kind of prayer that God always answers if and when we are truly open and ready to make him our God. Isn't this what Jesus prayed when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane? He prayed, "Not my will, but your will be done. Not me, but you. Not me, but you." Just like those windshield wipers going back and forth. Not me, but you. As the soldiers lined up outside Jerusalem's mighty gates. Not me, but you, as the soldiers marched down the hill in military fashion and came directly toward him. Not me, but you, as the disciples slept. Not me, but you, as the high priest falsely accused him. Not me, but you, as the Roman soldiers whipped and tortured him. Not me, but you, as they ridiculed and killed him. Not me, but you. It was the prayer of Jesus, and with perfect hindsight, we can see that God did indeed answer his prayer. That's because when we pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," we may not see or even understand how God is answering our prayers, but we can know, no matter what happens, that God answers our prayer whenever we truly desire to put him first. Not me, but you. Not me, but you, God. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven.